The champions of Europe are in the fan zone. This is one PSG fan versus 5 Premier League fans.
PSG's all-time legend clears any Premier League club.
Obviously, I don't agree with that at all. But let's go position for position. Who's your greatest goalkeeper of all time?
Let's say Donnarumma.
Peter Schmeichel definitely clears. Even our second-strand goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar, probably clears as well. Right back.
Well, first and foremost, if we want to go and say PSG legends alone, then fine. If you say any players that have gone through PSG, then I'll say Buffon.
No. This is legends that played for PSG.
That's what's in it.
Petty, but I'll take it.
Buffon and Donnarumma as goalkeepers
Bro,
are better
than
any Premier League keeper.
Who do you want to lock in?
I'll say Donnarumma.
Okay, so Peter Schmeichel obviously clears. Anyways, let's move on. Right back. Who's your right back?
Hakimi.
I mean, Gary Neville definitely. Right
Stop! Gary
cool.
Neville! What do you mean? Gary Neville himself will go and say that Hakimi's better than him.
Yeah, have Hakimi. Clearly, sensitive topic for you. 2 centre backs.
Thiago Silva and Marquinhos.
And Marquinhos, that serial loser who needed Pacho to hold his hand.
Okay, what about Sergio Ramos?
The guy played about 60 more minutes than me for PSG than he did for any other team.
Fine. Thiago Silva's in.
Yapstam, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic definitely all getting above Thiago Silva.
Thiago Silva is a top 5 centre back all time.
What's his achievements at PSG?
A washed Thiago Silva came to the Premier League and one of the best defenders in the league.
Thank you for glazing Chelsea. You're glazing Chelsea.
Came to Chelsea and was one of the best defenders in the league. If a younger Thiago Silva at PSG, by necessity, he was better.
He won the Champions League, which he couldn't do, by the way, at PSG because, again, they were full of serial losers. Most of your legends are serial losers, bro. If you want to move into the midfield, who are you going to name me? Marco Verratti. The guy is mostly known for being the only Italian to not play in the Serie A, bro. That's the only thing he's got to his name. If you want to go for midfielders, Paul Scholes obviously clears him. Roy Keane obviously clears him. Who's your next best midfielder?
Neymar at the 10.
Neymar, I'll happily give you that. Neymar, one of the greatest players of our generation.
So, Donnarumma in goal, Hakimi right back. I'll go Marquinhos, Thiago Silva, Nuno Mendes. I'll go Vitinha, Verratti, Neymar at the 10. And Mbappe on the right.
Vitinha.
Yeah,
As a legend.
Let him finish the team.
Mbappe on the left. Di Maria on the right, Zlatan in the 9.
That's dark, by the way. Di Maria being your legend.
Hold on, just remember, this is any Premier League club. So you have to go.
I'm obviously choosing Manchester United, bro. Which were, by the way, we are like 15 times the size of your club, and our legends, like I said to you, are second and third string 11s.
Which players get in?
Right wing, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, through the middle, Wayne Rooney obviously has had a better career than Zlatan Ibrahimovic at PSG.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic, did he deliver Champions League to PSG? He did not. Mbappe at the left, bro, he's meant to be your greatest ever player and he still couldn't even deliver you a Champions League. Neymar, by the way, who I would argue definitely isn't in the 11, carried you to that Champions League final only for Mbappe to drop a 2 out of 10 and have stains run down his leg during that final, bro. Other than that, he has achieved more at the national team rather than he has for PSG.
So basically for Mbappe, you're saying if it's Champions League or bust. If PSG
it's not Champions League, if PSG win that Champions League titles, bro. Your league titles are done in December.
If PSG go and win that Champions League final against Bayern Munich, all of a sudden now you're going and saying Mbappe's one of the best players of all time. What, does a single Champions League all of a sudden change everything about what you've done at the club?
How many seasons was it? 7 seasons. So in 7 seasons he can deliver a single Champions League. If you go to Ligue 1 and you check PSG lineups from February till May, I guarantee you that they are resting players for the Champions League. You guys are genuinely just waiting for the Champions League and you still can't deliver it. Obviously you delivered it under Luis Enrique, credit to you lot, but you put Vitinha in there, and if you're putting somebody that's literally been there for a couple seasons in your Legends 11, then that is a very, very dark time for you.
I have a question for you. So you know your attackers, who was it?
Mbappe on the left, Zlatan through the middle, Di Maria on the right.
Where's the Ballon d'Or winner?
Dembele gets in.
Over Wayne Rooney.
Right.
Does?
Get him.
I don't know why you looked at these lot. All-time record goal scorer from Manchester United Football Club, okay? Won everything. Won absolutely everything. And you're telling me now a singular campaign of Ousmane Dembele is now starting ahead of Wayne Rooney, bro.
Where is Wayne Rooney's Ballon d'Or?
Oh, damn.
Where's Wayne, bro?
Dembele brought the first ever Champions League to PSG. After Messi, Neymar, Zlatan, all these players came. And also you go and look at his Champions League campaign against Villa, against Arsenal, against City, against all of these big teams. Even in the final, his final was underrated. This guy got 2 assists in the final. As a football player, Ousmane Dembele is better than Wayne Rooney.
Oh. It's 4 red cards for Raz. You have been sent off.
Right, what was your original point that kicked off the whole argument?
So if you go and you take any Premier League team, all right, comparing to PSG...
Stop. So you said any Premier League team. He only argued Manchester United, and we've got the entire of the Premier League. We've got Liverpool's legends, Arsenal's, Chelsea's, Man United's. You're coming with PSG legends who have only made a name for themselves in the last 10 years, so I may as well whack City in there as well. They've got legends.
Wait, do we need to wait for players to end their careers and to be in their 30s to be considered as legends.
Well, no, but I'd give them more than a year.
So, like, for example, is Mbappe a legend of football? Would you consider him a legend of football?
Kylian Mbappe won a World Cup at 18 years old with France. Is PSG's all-time top goal scorer. I'd consider Mbappe on his way to becoming a legend, yeah. As for Hakimi, Donnarumma I'd actually put on his way to legendary status as well. The rest of those players you've named.
Hakimi?
I mean, I was hearing names like Verratti, I was hearing names like Dembele, Vitinha, who was at Wolverhampton Wanderers a couple of years ago. Like, you're comparing your legends to the entire of the Premier League's legends, and I just think...
Okay, but again, if you go back to the initial claim, it wasn't going and saying comparing it to the Premier League as a whole. It's any individual club. So
you know what? I'm not even going to bring Arsenal forward because, you know, you're a new club around here. You formed in 1970. What I'll do is I'll bring Man City to the table. I'd actually put Erling Haaland on his way to having a better career than Ibrahimovic. Donnarumma, your legend, is going to make a bigger name for himself at Man City than he did at PSG, based on the fact he's obviously going to be there for longer. Kevin De Bruyne in there. Tops anything I've seen at PSG. Maybe bar Mbappe, but Kevin De Bruyne for me tops
Kevin De
anything
Bruyne
I've
is
ever
better
seen.
than Neymar.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne is better than Ronaldinho.
Kevin De Bruyne. No. What Kevin De Bruyne?
No, Dylan, you have been sent off, but I'm gonna let you finish that point.
What Kevin De Bruyne achieved at Manchester City outweighs what Neymar achieved at PSG. Is what I was trying to say. Which is just a fact.
Dylan has been sent off.
Our spine of the Man City team alone beats the PSG spine. We have company at the back. Obviously, Ruben Diaz. I would say Ruben Diaz is a legend now. I would say he is a legend. He won the treble with us.
Hey, you put Marquinhos here. We can put someone recently.
Midfield, yeah. We got David Silva. We got Kevin De Bruyne. We got Rodri, my Ballon d'Or winner. You have one. I have one as well. Then we got the front three. Erling Haaland.
Hey, hold on, wait.
Both the deadest Ballon d'Or winners.
Hey, we're meant to be on the same team here, bro. What are you doing? Who was your front three again?
Mbappe on the left, Zlatan through the middle, and I would say Dembele or Di Maria on the right.
Maybe you get two out of there.
Dembele gets in.
That's a stretch.
Dembele
That's
gets...
a stretch. Sterling's one of the most underrated players of all time. 18-19 or 19-20, he only had less GA than Messi in the world, bro.
Like, I mentioned people like Ronaldinho, David Ginola, George Weah, another
But they
Ballon
weren't
d'Or.
known for your club, though. Even Zlatan, you said Zlatan's up front. I think of Milan.
That's enough about Zlatan, Man City, Man United, and Arsenal. Comment down below who has the bigger club legend. Man City, Man United, Arsenal, or PSG?
PSG's current team is a top 5 team of all time.
Okay. Right.
You look so disappointed in that.
I assume we're going off the PSG team that just won the Champions League and the rest of the trophies they all just won.
Wait, pause on that one. It's a sextuple. There's only 2 other clubs in the history of
So
football
Bayern Munich have done that, and who else?
And Barca.
So that PSG team spent the first half of last season, turned up for the Champions League, like, fair enough. But first half of the season, I mean, they came to the Emirates and played Arsenal. Well, we were looking at the pitch and we couldn't tell if we were playing Crystal Palace or PSG. Bang average team. And like you said, in the end, it all worked out. It's fine. I'm looking at longevity as well, and the longevity is not there for me. Quality on the pitch, not so much there for me. I think for you to say you're a top 5 team of all time, I mean, we've got plenty of Barcelona teams out there. You've got Manchester United teams that won the treble.
What are the 5 teams that
I'd even put the Man City team that won the treble above you lot, because they won it in a much harder country to win things.
5 teams that are better than PSG all time then.
So you said there's 2 other teams that won the 6 trophies. So I'd put Bayern and Barca simply because they play at a higher standard than you lot.
I'll give you Barca, but why Bayern?
They play at a higher standard than you lot. They would have played in a much harder era of football, so I'll put those 2 instantly. On paper, they won just as much, and they obviously would have been much higher quality side, so I'll put them in there. Barcelona 09, you've got the Manchester United team that won the treble. Like I said, you've got the Man City team that won the treble. Whether you like it or not, I'd say winning things in England is a lot harder than it is to win things in France. You've got the Invincibles Arsenal side that didn't... Go on.
Here we go again.
A team that didn't lose a single game. I expect the Spurs fans, but a team that didn't lose a single game in a Premier League season.
Oh, exactly. You have to preface Premier League season. I would go and argue that our Invincible team is not even a top 3 team in the Premier League.
Oh, right. Football. You've forgotten there's a Real Madrid team that won 3 Champions Leagues in a row.
Hold up, Dylan.
This is just delusion.
That is 4 red cards for you, Dylan. You have been sent off.
You could have won 8-9 trophies last season. The fact that you compete in Ligue 1, bro, that league is a joke. I know, listen, I know it means a lot to you, so I can't take whatever you do in that league serious. I can't take you saying that you're a top 5 all-time team is crazy, because we haven't even touched on the teams in the 90s, like the Milan teams in the 90s. But even if I speak about the 07-08 United team here, which in that season, by the way, we won the Premier League and Champions League. We didn't even win the treble that season. But the teams that we're competing against in the Premier League, the teams that we're competing against in the Champions League are much, much higher quality than than the teams that you guys are obviously competing against. Like Ligue 1, you took half the season off, you finished 8th, you beat a down bad Liverpool team on penalties, and then you ended up, okay, cool, doing well in the last 4-5 games of the Champions League. You cannot tell me a team that done really well in the last 4-5 games of a Champions League campaign can go down as a top 5 all-time team. You can name the 10-11 Barca, you can name the 08-09 Barca, you can name the 07-08 Man United, you can name the 04-05 Chelsea, the 99 treble winning side, you can name the Centurions, you can name the 22-23 treble winning Man City team, you can name the Real Madrid side that won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Bro, you guys don't even fall in the top 10, let alone top 5 all-time teams.
The world of football owes a great debt to Chelsea Football Club, because if PSG had won the club, hold on, I'm going insane. 7 trophies in a single season would have been unheard of. The fact that PSG plays in France means that routinely in the Champions League, PSG routinely get one of the hardest draws. You look at this season, last season, every single time, PSG don't have the luxury of not being able to go and play Premier League clubs. Arsenal, we had Villa, Liverpool, City, we played them previously. Bayern, we played them in the group stage. In these last 2 seasons, if you go and you look at the FIFA club rankings, the coefficients, PSG have beaten every single team in the top 8. PSG have the biggest ever win in a Champions League final. I can go then to the personal accolades. We got the Ballon d'Or winner, the Golden Boy, the Manager of the Year, Club of the Year, Player of the Year, every single one. We got the African Ballon d'Or, Asian Player of the Year.
That's amazing, by the way. So you touched on absolutely everything. Why didn't you touch on the Club World Cup?
We lost.
So you got dunked on. So you're telling me a top 5 team of all time got dunked on by João Pedro in a Club World Cup?
But
Cole Palmer was probably thinking about his next trip to Dubai during that game. Chelsea underperformed in the league. You got outdone by Chelsea 3-0, by the way. Dominant display.
PSG losing to Chelsea in that game, you go and say it was a blip on the over the course of the entire season. PSG still went, beat Madrid, beat Bayern, beat Arsenal, beat City, beat Liverpool, beat every single one of these teams in one, all right?
That is genuinely the only 6 memorable games of that PSG season.
Going and beating City, being 2-0 down in the Champions League, coming back. 1. Going and beating Liverpool at Anfield, beating Arsenal, smacking Real Madrid 4-0, beating Atletico Madrid as well, beating Bayern as well. How many teams can go and beat Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Liverpool, City over the course of a single season?
Guess what? He ain't gonna be answering that because he has been sent off. Comment down below, is PSG's current team a top 5 team of all time?
Ousmane Dembele would not have won the Ballon d'Or if he played in the Premier League.
I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. You go and you look at the amount of goal contributions he had over the course of last season. You look at the Champions League campaign he had. What Dembele would do to Premier League defenders would be crimes against humanity, would be crimes against footballing gods. The Dembele season last year, because obviously Dembele played as a 9, we forgot that Dembele, technically as a footballer, as a dribbler, is something absolutely insane.
I hear that, but as you say, he won the Ballon d'Or playing as a number 9. So which team is he now playing for? Is he playing for Man City and winning a Ballon d'Or? No, because Haaland's not getting dropped anywhere, is he? Yes, he was a great player that season, but it's because they won the Champions League. If PSG didn't win the Champions League, Dembele is not winning the Ballon d'Or.
You will take Arsenal, who last season, for example, didn't have a striker. I think Ousmane Dembele very much so could fit in that, false 9 role for Arsenal. That Arsenal team would have done enough and would be enough to go and beat PSG in the semi-final and go on to win it. If Ousmane Dembele is there, Arsenal maybe have a better chance of winning the title. That's a Ballon d'Or season right there.
These are very ifs and buts, though. Do you know what I mean? The reason I say that. No, it's happened again.
Oh, hold on, wait. That don't make sense.
I wasn't finished.
Ed, your whole argument was if Ousmane Dembele played the Prem. So
but I wasn't finished.
Oh, you're definitely finished. That's 4 red cards. Get out.
If Dembele played in the Prem or on a different team, it's kind of difficult to quantify because what he did in PSG was unique to him, bringing obviously the first Champions League. And we've seen Haaland get 50 goals and assists in a season and win a treble, and he didn't win a Ballon d'Or. We saw Salah score 32 in the league. We've seen Salah win a Champions League. He didn't win a Ballon d'Or. We've seen Van Dijk have phenomenal seasons and not win a Ballon d'Or. So the Premier League does get a bit handicapped or looked at less favourably than other leagues because I think arguably his best skill is his dribbling, his driving. Does he have space in the Prem to do that? I didn't see him do it 6 years in La Liga. And last year, I think very different when we've seen the Salahs, the Haalands have great seasons, score more, win those big trophies and still not win a Ballon d'Or.
First and foremost with the dribbling and whatnot. Look what Doku's doing to the Premier League.
Great, he'll never win a Ballon d'Or.
But you're going and saying that Dembele would not be able to reproduce that dribbling. Well, Doku's able to go and do it. Shirky's able to go and do it. These are both players that came from Ligue 1. If you go and you look at overall the course of the entire season last year, Ousmane Dembele had the highest GA ratio of any player in the European top 5 leagues. Any of them. Scored against City, scored against Arsenal, got 2 assists against Villa. Every single time, and clutch moments as well. Against your club, Liverpool, scored against them, then scored the penalty as well. So he's done it against Premier League club. When Haaland came to the league, he thought he's not going to be able to replicate what he was doing in the Bundesliga. Drops almost the most GA ever seen in the Premier League campaign, or the most goals.
And again, he didn't win a Ballon d'Or. He had a better statistical season, the same amount of trophies as Dembele, and still didn't win a Ballon d'Or.
PSG won a sextuple.
Could you name all those 6 trophies, please?
Trophée des Champions, Coupe de France, Ligue 1, Champions League, Intercontinental Cup, as well as the Super Cup. 6.
Again, I'm not disputing Dembele's season, but I'm just saying in the last 6-7 years, I've seen better statistical Premier League seasons from Premier League players, and they didn't win a Ballon d'Or. So the level of difficulty he's having to do that to isn't replicated against a Premier League team.
And with the Ballon d'Or also, it's not just, the numbers in the GA and whatnot. It's also how are you as a player. Hence why Lamine Yamal ranks so highly, for example, and someone like Rafinha didn't rank as highly. Going back to, for example, Haaland, which many people would go and say that he was robbed of the Ballon d'Or, so on and so forth. The key thing that we're missing there is that he lost it to who? To Messi, arguably the greatest player of all time. And to what? Messi winning a World Cup. Van Dijk in 2019, again, losing it to Messi, who many Barcelona fans might go and say that was the peak version of Messi. The Ballon d'Or is only over the course of an entire season. It's PSG, what he did over the course of that year, that won him that Ballon d'Or. So what makes you go and say that based on that, he couldn't win the Ballon d'Or?
All right, comment down below. If Dembele played in the Premier League, would he win a Ballon d'Or? Drop a like, subscribe, and have the notification bell turned on so you're notified when we upload.
Luis Enrique is currently the best manager in the world.
As long as Pep Guardiola is breathing, there is no manager that is better than him. What makes Luis Enrique better than Pep Guardiola?
Okay, I'm saying currently. I'm not saying over the course, I'm not saying Luis Enrique is, above him. I'm saying currently. So
yeah, currently.
Since the last season.
Everything is last season for you, bro. Everything is last season.
In what domain do you think he's gone better?
So you're just going to disregard everything Pep has done because of one bad season at Man City?
I'm just saying currently. I'm not saying that Luis Enrique is better all time than Pep. I'm saying currently.
But you have to take into the context their squads. One's rebuilding a squad after falling down from a powerhouse, and one already is an established powerhouse team. Pep is literally breaking down the foundations and starting again. 70% of our team has never been in any major competitions fighting for titles.
I'm not saying that Pep is, miles below. I'm just saying that currently, right now, Luis Enrique is a better manager.
It's so hard to say right now though, because a manager is a long-term thing. You can't base a manager off a few games or one season.
Ever since Luis Enrique got to PSG, he's been a better manager than Pep.
If a manager's got a team, for example, and then the entire half the team leaves in January, does that have anything to say about his managerial ability?
Yes, of course. But it's not only one thing in isolation. For example, you brought up about the fact that, Pep, he's reconstructed his team and whatnot, but Pep's been at City for a long time. For example, I'll go and compare it to somebody else, Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick got a lot of respect last year for what he did with Barcelona. I think rightfully so. Barcelona could not spend a lot of money. They were constrained, and yet despite that, we're able to go and, win everything domestically, and we get to the semifinal of the Champions League. Luis Enrique did that in his very same season at PSG, lost a lot of core players and brought a lot of young players, and Pacho, a player who before coming to PSG had never played a single minute in the Champions League. Doué, who at that point was a very good Ligue 1 player, but not much.
He was a wonder kid.
He was very good, but at that point he was an untested 19-year-old Ligue 1 player. We saw John Neves, somebody from the Portuguese league.
Another wonder kid.
Yeah, another wonder kid. True, but you can't go and say now. You didn't have the hindsight at that time to go and say that PSG was going to go and do so.
No, wait, that's what I'm going to say. You're acting like Luis Enrique brought these guys over, they were like behind the bin. He found them behind the bin and brought them in and made them superstars. You guys have superstars. Kavicha, this guy from Napoli, bro, he was one of the best players, if not arguably the best player in the Serie A. Then you had Dembele, Ballon d'Or winner. He made him into that Ballon d'Or winner.
Exactly. How many of you guys come here, raise your hands, had PSG last season when PSG was 25th in the Champions League, winning the Champions League after?
Me, I'm a visionary.
Mads, tell me about Pep Guardiola's history, because you talked about how his manager Luis Enrique made Ballon d'Or winners.
Yeah, this guy is literally known. He is the formula of bringing players that we don't really know about, bringing them to the Premier League and making them superstars. He is now in the process of doing that right now. We're on course of potentially winning the Premier League with these players that have never been in this situation. That's what the GOAT manager does.
Yeah, I've got no issues. I have tremendous amount of respect for Pep and what he's gone and done. But you go and what Luis Enrique's done, winning the Champions League with the second youngest ever team. The Vitinhas that you guys love to go and say, was a failed at Wolves, turned him into one of the best midfielders in the world. That's all thanks to Luis Enrique. Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, all these players is thanks to what Luis Enrique has been able to go and do.
But is that how good of a manager he is, or how when he came into this team, how set up PSG were? Like, they were already made and packaged and ready for him. You know what I mean?
PSG went and lost their best player to go into the best team. People wrote off PSG. There were even talks last last year that PSG might not even win Ligue 1. And they go and win everything. That's thanks to Luis Enrique. Like,
who said that? Well, you won the league with 20 points, bro.
Back in 2021, right, Thomas Tuchel took over Chelsea midway through the season and then finished the season by winning them the Champions League. If your point is that he's done it so quickly and he's made PSG a super team that quickly, surely Thomas Tuchel's better because he did it in half the time.
So yeah, he's the GOAT then. He did. He took over half the season and won the Champions League.
As Luis Enrique.
All right, what we're gonna do there?
Like Luis Enrique, he kept up the league. Cool, that's what he has to do. Your league is washed, bro. The only praise he should be getting is for winning that Champions League because you guys have never won it. How can he be a better manager than Pep Guardiola, bro? It makes no sense to me because of one bad season. Third in the Premier League, the hardest league in the world.
What about the Champions League?
The Champions League, yeah, we had.
What about the Champions League?
But that's not our problem.
It was the playoffs, was it not, Brad?
Yeah, we did. We got kicked out.
But we will leave
You know
it
what I mean?
there. Decide down below: is Luis Enrique the best manager in the world right now?
PSG is a bigger club than Arsenal.
Right, formed in 1970. You've won 13 league titles. We were formed in 1886. We've won 13 league titles and in a much harder country to win it. So instantly that's out the window, and that's near enough the majority of PSG's legacy. Yes, you've won a Champions League. So have Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa back in the day. They're not bigger clubs than Arsenal Football Club. I really can't find a single metric other than one singular Champions League trophy.
When determining the size of a club, there's many factors that come into play. It's not just one thing alone, correct?
I'd say global reach. PSG have a huge global fan base, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you say, for example, resale popularity globally. You go and say historicity. You go and say, for example, things like commercial success also as well. Legends that have gone through the club, and also obviously the success. So you mentioned the fact that obviously, yes, PSG was founded in 1970. Arsenal was founded in 1886. PSG have won more trophies than Arsenal. PSG have won 58 trophies. Arsenal have won 49 trophies. And I know I'm more than happy to go and concede the fact that yes, a modern Premier League title is worth more than a modern Ligue 1 title. But however, when Arsenal was going and farming titles in the 30s, in an era where you were paid at maximum £8 per week, that title against semi-professional players, that title is worth more than modern Ligue 1 titles. PSG have won more trophies, 10 more trophies than Arsenal, who are 84 years older. The last major title, the last league title Arsenal won, PSG have gone and won 11 league titles in between.
So you grew up in Paris, I'm assuming?
I did not know.
Oh, okay. So the talk of farming league titles in the 30s, that would be exactly the reason we are so big. The farming league titles in the 30s, I mean, that is Gen Z lingo in itself, which I just can't even be bothered to. I can't bother to.
Is it false?
But at the end of it's not false, but it's a pathetic argument. That is the reason we're a big club. We date back that far. We've been winning league titles that long. We're one of two clubs in England who have never been relegated from the top division.
We want to talk about how you guys got into that top division to begin with. How you guys paid your way to get there to begin with.
Oh, hold on. He talked about pay to win.
I know that, I think it is. Yeah, well, I'm not even going to talk about pay to win. I'll spare him the embarrassment. But the reason we are so big is because our history dates back so far, and it's what builds such a global fan base in England and obviously across the world over such a long period of time. We've won 13 league titles in England dating back that far. You've bought 13 league titles in France in the last, it's not even been 60 years, has it?
PSG was founded in 1970, as you go and say. How can you allow your younger brothers by 84 years to go and beat you in terms of trophies? PSG have a better European legacy than ours.
We play in a much tougher league with a lot more teams, which is why it's a much more respectable league, which is why our 13 titles have so much more weight than yours.
14 of Arsenal's titles were won before the year 1950s. Congratulations, it goes and shows your historicity fine. Ever since PSG have been founded, they've been better than Arsenal. European everywhere.
The reason I'm not willing to hear the trophies argument is because we've got 13 league titles in England, you've got 13 in France. The English ones hold a lot more weight because of the fact that there are so many more Premier League teams or First Division teams that compete for that with Arsenal, whereas since you lot have come along with all of your money and you've absolutely blown French football out the water, there's not really much competition there. Whereas England, last year it was Liverpool, which a lot of people didn't expect. Now it's Arsenal this year, or Man City that look like they could win it. Chelsea have won it in the last 10 years. Leicester City have won it in the last 10 years. It is a lot harder to win a league in England. That's a fact, hence why our titles hold so much more weight. If you want to bring any kind of argument to the table, I wouldn't bother with legends, I wouldn't bother with titles, I wouldn't bother with history. I'd simply put it down to a Champions League, which is all you've really got to throw at us. But then again, pretty low-level clubs in the Premier League that have won Champions League, so for me that doesn't mean anything.
Is PSG a bigger football club than Arsenal? Comment down below, but don't ever talk about my club like that again. You understand? Don't ever talk about Arsenal Football Club like that again.
If Kylian Mbappe joined any top Premier League team, they would win the title.
I've got a lot to say about this guy. What makes you think Kylian Mbappe can win the top 6 at Premier League?
Kylian Mbappe is where he's French, right? Born outside in the suburbs of Paris.
Yep.
he reminds me of a certain, player. A lot of would go and say that is arguably the Premier League's best ever player.
Don't you dare.
Oh, no, wait. Can I confirm? Are you about to mention Mr. Thierry?
Precisely, sir.
Okay.
Both came up through Monaco. Arguably have very similar play styles. I'm not going to go and say who's better. If Thierry Henry is arguably one of the best players ever to play in this Premier League, you think Mbappe's he's going to struggle to Bournemouth, to Southampton? Respect to those clubs and whatnot.
It's not about that. And don't compare Thierry Henry and Mbappe. You know why? Because Thierry Henry had the goals and assists to his game. We're talking about the guy who holds the record for the most assists in the Premier League and also getting double digits in goals as well. Mbappe is not doing that in the Premier League.
Mbappe's season is 2021-2022 season. He has over 20 assists. He got the most goals and assists in Ligue 1.
No, in PSG. But you're talking about in Ligue 1. Like, we're talking about the Premier League. No, wait, let me cook.
Hold on. You know what it is, Braz? I feel like they did it a bit too quick. I'm gonna let you land your point.
Bro, because we need to look at Mbappe's track record, yeah? Everywhere he goes, he becomes the problem. First in PSG, cool, you can have your little golden boots, your individual awards, but look what Luis Enrique, your manager, said to him. It's not about your goals, it's not about being an individualist, it's about being a leader, and that's one thing he cannot do. Everywhere Mbappe goes, because of the stature of his name that it holds, every team makes him the number one man. But when he becomes a star player, that's when the problems arise. He even tried to force a move for 4 years to Real Madrid. They even made him the sporting director of the club.
Wait, hold on, wait.
The relevance is...
I'm gonna let you finish your point.
How much did he pay you?
I'm intrigued in the point, so I'm gonna let him finish the point, then we're gonna get him off.
There is relevance to that because he destroyed that club. He didn't get you guys... He did.
Have a word,
He did. He destroyed the club. He destroyed your wage structure. Yeah, you guys are paying him millions.
Hold on. I don't care what you might say. Let him finish the point.
Thank you very much.
Yeah?
He even had to bring in Messi and Neymar and still couldn't do anything with them. Now, that's just PSG. Cool. He forced the move. He couldn't do nothing with the best player ever and one of the most talented players of all time because they didn't track back. He doesn't know how to track back. That's one thing. He goes over to Real Madrid. Yeah? They make him the star man. They go trophyless when he's the main man.
First and foremost, they didn't go trophyless.
They go trophyless. And I don't want to hear some Mickey Mouse trophy.
You know what it is? Brad, personally, I think you got voted up prematurely before you could finish.
Thank you very much. It's
but
facts.
you have been sent off.
I'm going to go from a completely opposite standpoint to Brad's because I'm not here to slander Kylian Mbappe. I actually think on his day, he's probably the best player in the world. Him not winning a league title is not down to actually him, but it's actually down to the team that he's in, for example. If I put Kylian Mbappe in a Tottenham Hotspur lineup, like you're currently seeing the lineups that they're putting out, you put Kylian Mbappe in there, they maybe push up to 14th. Maybe that is. And that is not, by the way, that is not because of Kylian Mbappe. The assist argument, I don't really care about the assist argument because Kylian Mbappe is going to score goals in the Premier League. He's going to dominate the Premier League, but that is not going to win teams a Premier League title, okay? Thierry Henry was at Arsenal for many, many years, okay? Not every season he won the Premier League for them. Okay, so like you said, you want to compare the two players. He's lost Premier League titles to lesser teams in the seasons that he was in. So that's why I don't think Kylian Mbappe...
I agree, and you made very valid points. However, my claim was any top 6 club. So if you go to any team that's reasonably going and battling for the Premier League title, if you go anywhere, for example, count your beloved Manchester United.
If Kylian Mbappe comes into our lineup, I promise you we are not winning the Premier League title because he would obviously be an unbelievable addition and would solve a lot of our attacking problems. However, we have much bigger issues. For adding Kylian Mbappe and adding an extra 5 to 10 goals that we currently have in our lineup is not going to help us win the Premier League.
You can make that case, obviously, but do you not go and think the 30, 40 goals that you go and you bring? Even just the threat of Mbappe.
I mean, I've seen Rashford's threat in behind the Premier League. I'm not saying obviously they're the same. I'm not saying the same kind. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Marcus Rashford.
But every time Rashford and Mbappe came up against each other, Rashford dominated.
You know what? Hey, you know what? I gave Braz the leniency. Is there anything you want to say before you depart?
No, I'm chilling.
Alright, Faraz has been sent off. Ed, they disrespected your team and said they're not a big side.
They did. Now listen, if the statement was Mbappe would win Arsenal a league, Man City a league, or Liverpool a league, I would agree with you. But any other team in the Premier League, if he goes into that team, they're not winning the Premier League. The Premier League, you need a whole squad. Now listen, my beloved Tottenham, okay, we are a top team. As much as turbulence we're going through right now, we are a top team. Okay,
Where are you guys in the table?
We're currently fighting relegation, bro. We are, I think, 16th.
So hold on. How can you be a top team in 16th place?
Are you trying to tell me Tottenham? Hang on. Are you trying to tell me Tottenham aren't a top team? Are you trying to tell me Tottenham aren't a top team?
Well, Ed.
How are we not a top team? We've got a better stadium than you. We got
Ed.
We won a European trophy closer than you lot. Where's your European trophies, mate? Where are your European trophies? I'm staying. I'm never leaving. Where are your European trophies? Ligue 1 is still a farmers' league.
How are you defining a farmers' league? How, Ligue 1 teams go and do in Europe internationally? Or 2, how competitive the league is intrinsically? Which one are you making the case for?
Okay, both. I was going to say both, yeah.
Would you say that Ligue 1 is a top 5 league in the world?
Yes.
Okay, so you're calling every other league outside the top 5 a farmers league. So basically, unless you're the top 4 leagues in the world, you're a farmers league. What else
Whoa.
can I go and show?
Okay, first of all, I don't agree with what do we mean when we say farmers league? Well, we mean not very competitive.
Hold on.
Okay,
No,
but-
name me your top 5 leagues.
La Liga, Premier League, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, and Serie A. The top 5 leagues. That's general knowledge.
Okay, yes, so that means any league below Ligue 1 you're saying is a farmers league.
Yes. What are you trying to say? That the Korean League is not a farmers league? What are you trying to say? I don't get it.
The point I'm making here, though, is this is peak like English footballing bias here.
But they are the best, though.
It's English elitism.
But they are the best.
Are you English by any chance?
I am.
That's like me going and saying England is a farmer nation, because England is not a top 5 nation internationally in terms of international football.
No, it's not because the
No, but I go
level
and say-
because the
Hey, you
level
know
between
what?
the top 5
You know
leagues
what?
to the
You
rest
brought
of
it
the
back.
leagues.
You brought it back there.
What are we doing?
Hold on, that is 3 red cards.
That doesn't make sense.
You are out of here.
It doesn't make sense.
In fairness to Ligue 1, I think this is a bad time to be talking about it as a farmers league. I think you've got Marseille who look good these days. You've got RC Lens obviously near enough the top of the table. I just think on a competitive basis in that league over the longer period of time, it's not up there. I mean, we talked about just in Europe. I mean, you have the Club World Cup, you've got the whole world, you've got the Brazilian league. I think I put that above Ligue 1 in terms of competitiveness. You've got 6 teams that went to the Club World Cup. Maybe not 6, but a lot of teams from Brazil went to the Club World Cup. Very competitive out there. You look at the table and the points gap between teams in the top 6 and even teams fighting relegation out there is 10 times more competitive. Maybe the level you could say is slightly below, but I think you have to go and actually watch it for yourself to see it's not that far below Ligue 1, or if not on the same, if not better.
Competitive is in what sense? In how they compete internationally, or how?
You're talking about
With
the title
The
race.
actual league,
the title race.
Okay,
the actual league itself. PSG, you played Brest, if I'm not wrong, in the Champions League last season.
Yeah.
What was the score across both legs?
10 no.
It was 10-0.
Across both
Across
legs, yeah.
both legs.
Goddamn.
Since 2010, both the Premier League and Ligue 1 have had the exact same amount of league winners. PSG, you've had PSG, Monaco, Lille, Marseille, as well as Montpellier, 5. In the Premier League, you've had what? Leicester, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, United. Well, since the 2000s, since the turn of the millennium, Ligue 1 actually, of the European top 5 league, has had the most variety of league winners. I think one of the best metrics to go and determine how competitive a league is how dominant the champions are. So, City Centurion season, right? If we want to go and look at the percentage of possible points they can get. So,
I don't want to look at the percentage.
Sorry.
That's all nonsense. Right, no, that's nonsense. I'm not doing potential percentage of points.
That City team got a staggering 87% of the possible points available to them. Since PSG got bought over by Qatar, actually, Ligue 1 statistically is the least dominant leagues. City, Liverpool, and any Premier League team statistically are more dominant, get a larger share of the possible points. That means that PSG, for example, is more likely to drop points against Brest than City is to a Southampton or a Brentford. Statistically.
It's not true. You're looking at stats, it's just not true.
Do you disagree with that in your
Last
stats?
season, I watched Man City draw 0-0 with Southampton, just there.
Okay, then, do you by any chance watch Ligue 1?
Tune in occasionally.
How often? How many games
often? When there's a good enough standard
That
game on.
right there is 4 red cards.
Hang on,
Dylan.
I want to finish. If you're going to ask me if I watch Ligue 1 and then base your whole argument on stats and numbers and averages, like, how's
I'll
that
give you
fair?
the
Well,
How's
no, that right there is done. Dylan, you have been sent off.
I do like the fact that you brought those stats. I am a stats man. I do like people that bring factual things to the table. So I spoke about a couple individual seasons. However, if you look at the Premier League from 1992, 1993 till to this day, definitely more competitive than Ligue 1. If you're currently looking at
competitive in what sense?
Well, if you look at the average teams in the Premier League, if you match them up, I'd say with the Ligue 1 teams, the Premier League teams would definitely compete more and I'd say win most of the games. You do develop a lot of great players. You have a lot of great talent in that league. However, if you look at like blockbuster games, blockbuster matchups, the Premier League tops it 1,000,000% for me. And for example, when PSG played Marseille quite recently, what was the score in that game?
Yeah, but that's PSG, Like that.
No, but that's
Okay. You want to use that argument? What about Arsenal playing Spurs then?
That's not.
Wait,
hold on. Liverpool played your club. What was the score again? Was 7-2? Was it?
7-0. Worse.
No, but it's
Faraz gonna mention this point. You can reply after Faraz is done. You can reply. Then when you say your point, Faraz will reply.
the quality of players, for example, in Ligue 1 compared to the Premier League is not even close. Other than PSG, Marseille, and Lyon, say the rest of the teams in Ligue 1, there is not many top talents in there. However, in the Premier League, when you look at teams lower league in the table, Wolverhampton last season, Cunha, top player, Brian Mbeumo for Brentford, top player, Declan Rice, who's now one of the great best midfielders in the world, he came from a lower league team in West Ham. Premier League teams, the lower end sides, have much more top players than the Ligue 1 lower sides do. So that's why it's a farmers league in my opinion.
Do you mind telling me, Saliba, where did you come from? Your club in Burma. Where did you come from?
Hey!
No, fair.
Well, that is
Fair.
4 red cards. This debate is over.
If PSG was in the Premier League, they would win it.
If you think you're a better team than all the other top teams, because you've not had to play a competitive 38-game season before, Lens is your main competitors. They're 2 points behind you, obviously, this season. I don't think you think Lens is finishing in the top half in the Premier League.
Debatably. Up the top for speculation.
For speculation.
But they're not top 6 or top 8 in the Premier League. That's your compare in France. And now we take it to England. There's a lot more fiercer compares. I think also one thing that you'll probably touch on is a lot of the teams that you did beat in the run-up to the Champions League last year, you would have to play them in the Premier League. And I think one thing.
And what happened when we played them last year?
No, you won some, but you.
Talk to me about that Champions League run last year.
How did we give it to him? How? I didn't finish my point on that.
Hey, you brought it up.
The Premier League, once again, owes a great deal of thanks to Chelsea. If PSG had the misfortune of beating Chelsea as well as all the other teams, I would have said strip your club Liverpool of the Premier League title and give it to us. Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Villa, Man, all these teams fell to PSG. So what, you're going to tell me what, the mighty Southampton, Brentford is going to stop off PSG after losing the first leg to Liverpool?
So you lost the game. Because remember, in the Premier League, it's not cup competition, it's not penalties.
Hold on.
Oh, ref, really now? Now you're putting your foot down.
PSG after losing the first leg in the Champions League to Liverpool, I was told, Anfield, the atmosphere, within a couple minutes, Ousmane Dembele was shushing you guys. Again, same thing at the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse here down here at the Emirates Stadium. Within 3 minutes out of the shushed. You keep proving it. Against all of these teams, we outplayed them. The only one you can go and say is, well, even Villa. PSG at one point were 5-1 up against Villa. PSG dominated every single Premier League team they played, bar Chelsea. If PSG is able to go and do it against all the top teams in the Premier League, what makes you think that they can't go and do that over the course of the season?
I'm glad you touched on that, because one thing that you may not know about the Premier League, it's from match week 1 all the way to match week 38. I know you guys aren't really used to that. You kind of take time off in between it, and you talk about taking your foot off the pedal against obviously Aston Villa. Let me tell you something, you can't do that in the Premier League. You can't do it in the Premier League, because guess what, you lose games.
Hold up, no, I let you land, he's going to land.
Thank you, because you lose titles like that. Man United lost that by goal difference. We've lost it by a point. A lot of teams, you can't do that, and I think you lot with PSG, you don't maybe have the intensity to do that week in, week out. You also touched on you beat Liverpool. You know the game you actually smashed us was the game you end up losing at home for you guys.
What about the second leg?
No, I'm talking about you were so dominant in that game that you ended up losing to, again, a Liverpool team that was not the best outfit that we showed. On the basis of that game, we had more of the chances. You won on penalties. You won these games.
You won XG.
And Arsenal,
we had the XGSC.
Yes, cup competitions, you guys are great. You've won the Champions League. We've won the Champions League. Chelsea have won the Champions League. City have won the Champions League. It's nothing unique to you guys. And if you're saying you're a best cup competition team, cool, maybe I'll give you that, but the whole premise is the Premier League. Yes, you will be one of the top clubs, but you don't know what it's like to have to play 4 to 5 top teams home and away every single year and then win out with that. You drop points, you turn up here, having heavily rotated sides. You can't do that, turn up week in, week out in the Premier League. You have to be there every single time. And me personally, I don't think PSG have the mettle. You just not had it to do that, and you're not going to do that in the Premier League. You can't just turn up and win that like you can do in Ligue 1. And a lot of these Champions League games that you beat us in, you had to rest your midweek games to play us. In the Premier League, you can't do that. You've got a Wednesday over Sunday. You think you can rest Wednesday and then play? No, you got to do my full strength team there, my full strength team there. PSG have the luxury where they've not been able to do that. So I don't think you can handle that intensity of the Premier League.
It's one of the biggest things that I always heard about, specifically going into the Arsenal game in the semi-finals, that PSG won't be able to cope with the intensity. We saw in that first leg, PSG dominated and outplayed Arsenal, and specifically in that midfield over the course of 2 legs. You always talked about, they can't do it home and away. Is the Champions League? Yes, of course, the Champions League is a cup competition, but is the Champions League not, especially in the knockout stage, is it home and away? So PSG beat Arsenal home and away, PSG beat Villa home and away, PSG beat Liverpool home and away.
I would say you want the tie, split. You would hold away.
Yeah,
you want the tie.
You can't split. You have to either get 4 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 to win these titles. And again, you talk about you lot are 2 points clear of Lens, and you also finished outside the top 8 hold on one sec. You finished out the top 8 in the Champions League group stage this year.
Back to back, by the way.
Back to back years, and then also you had a do or die game against Newcastle at home. All you do is win and you qualify. You couldn't do that, and the Newcastle on the upper echelons of the Premier League. So we've seen you guys, because it's not easy to just always flick it on like that, to be your foot on the gas for 38 match weeks. Yeah, you guys had a chance to get through automatically. You weren't able to Newcastle, and granted, you've got through, but again, it shows when you've had do or die games, it's not easy to turn it on, and PSG don't have the luxury to do that in the Premier League.
PSG, had a lot of injuries. PSG, as a sort of, if you want to go and say, consequence of last season, playing the Club World Cup, the Champions League, a lot of our players playing in the Nations League, all of these competitions meant that we'd suffer the consequences now. PSG routinely every single season has the toughest draw in the Champions League because of the rule that you cannot face a team from your own confederation. It means that all these Premier League teams, you automatically dodge all the other Premier League teams, which means that you're left with all the scraps. If the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, City has to go and face the teams PSG face, you guys are probably also not making the top 8 either.
When you struggle with injuries, you are not top of the Premier League table. The reason you guys have had these injuries, your own words, was from the intensity of playing a lot of games last season. A lot of Premier League teams are playing 55 to 60 games every single year. So we have to deal with that. It's not just a one-year exception, and great, you've got a lot of injuries this year. Do you know what? If you want to play a lot of games and get far rounds in these competitions and having to play a 38-game season, you're going to have to deal with injuries, and your PSG team doesn't have that and won't reproduce that in the Premier League. Liverpool finished top 8 and we played 4 out of the top 8 teams that qualified automatically. When we've won Champions League, we've played the champions of Portugal, champions of Germany, Italy, all in a group stage to get to, all in the knockout round to get to a final. So you guys playing difficult competitions in the Champions League isn't unique to PSG. Every top team that gets far into the Champions League has to play top teams.
One of the things that I find extremely hypocritical, especially about a lot of Premier League clubs, is for the longest time PSG, was mocked. They couldn't win the Champions League, and when PSG was specifically getting knocked out too, I remember 2019 against United, way back when against Chelsea as well, against City. One of the big criticisms that PSG, they play in Ligue 1, they're not used to the intensity of Champions League games. All of a sudden now, PSG win the Champions League last year, and I'm going saying, playing in Ligue 1 is actually the greatest benefit you can actually have because you're able to rest players. Is it a good thing that PSG play in Ligue 1 because they're able to rest players, or is it negative because they're not used to the intensity? Because I can go and then level the argument your way. You guys are used to playing all the intense games, and why is it then you can't translate that in Europe?
We do translate that.
No,
in
you
Europe.
do.
We made three finals in the last 7 years. So of course.
How do you then combat that with the fact that PSG, you're going and saying, are not going to be able to use the intensity? When PSG still able to go and compete against every single Premier League team they face.
Of course, PSG are a top team and they face elite teams in European competitions the same as every other Premier League club. Now, times that by 2 or times that by 3, being able to upkeep that, not be able to take your foot off the gas, not able to rotate your teams heavily. After your one season of winning the Champions League, getting far, Club World Cup and everything, you won the league by 19 points last year. Now it's 2 points. You're currently ahead. So a level of complacency is already crept in. For you guys to do back to back, maintain and relevance throughout 38 games to be able to replicate your dominance like every other top English club has had to do over the last decade.
Would PSG win the Premier League if they played in it? Comment down below, drop a like and subscribe. This has been FanZone, 1 PSG fan versus 5 Premier League fans.